Welcome one and all. This is WESN Content Capital Face of Sports, and today is a very important day in Trinidad and Tobago. It's Monday, yes, because we have got cricket and football on this week in Trinidad and Tobago, and also on the weekend. More importantly, we have football on Thursday. Trinidad and Tobago's Soca Warriors playing against Curaçao in their first game in the Nations League. Joining me to talk about that is the media director at the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, Sean Fuentes. Sean, welcome.
Andrew, thanks for having me.
And if we're going to go right into it, we're going to put up a schedule on the screen of upcoming matches for Trinidad and Tobago. A schedule on the screen, and Sean will go through as we look at that schedule and discuss some of these upcoming matches for Trinidad and Tobago. Let's have a look on the screen here of some of the, and there it is, shown for August, December, and we're talking all sorts of football. So let's go through it. Let's start with the youths.
Of course, you would see there's a packed schedule, a hectic schedule for Trinidad and Tobago football over the next few months. We would have started in this August. You look back there, you saw the U15 boys. They would have had their CONCACAF championship where they got some decent results, but not enough to really progress to the further stages. We had the U14 girls as well getting their exposure at the CFU Challenge Series, the under-17 women as well. They just came back from CONCACAF qualifying championship that was played in Curaçao. Mixed results for both sets of teams, the U14s and the U17s as well. And of course, we also have now, Andrew, what we're going to talk about, the senior men's team.
Right, so we have the next slide and we'll have a look, right, so the next slide. Here we are, so let's stay where we are, right.
So that begins this Thursday at the Hazley Crawford Stadium, 6 p.m. kickoff against Curaçao.
How important is that game, Sean?
It's critical, Andrew. It's very critical because of the fact that this is the first game of League A for us in the CONCACAF Nations League. This is one of two home matches that we will have. So we play Curaçao at home on Thursday. Then we travel to face El Salvador on the 10th of this month. And in October, we have two more matches as well. But based on how CONCACAF has set this up, it's based on a Swiss League format. So there are two groups in the CONCACAF Nations League of 6 teams each. The top 2 teams from each group will qualify for the quarterfinals of the Nations League, where we're going to meet the 4 seeded teams. Those 4 seeded teams, obviously, are the big dogs, the likes of the US, Mexico, Costa Rica, and also, I think, Jamaica is there as well. This means that we're going to have to try to qualify as one of the top 2 teams in our group. It means that we have to capitalize on this home game against Curaçao. We need to try and get maximum points. Once we finish second in the group, we go through to the quarterfinal stages. Now, in saying that, our away game against El Salvador is very critical. If we can get a point or even a victory, that's going to be so good for us. But then we host Guatemala at home in October, and then we play away to Curaçao as well. So it's very critical. The other 2 teams in that group are Panama and Martinique. We've avoided them. We are not playing them in this particular competition.
That's a good draw.
Right. And then you look at the other group. I mentioned that Jamaica are one of the seeded teams. That is not correct. They're actually in the other group. They're in that group with the likes of Suriname, Grenada, Haiti as well. And they're going to be trying to qualify for the quarterfinal phase. Now, what is so critical?
Canada would have been the big dog.
Canada is one of the other seeded teams. You're right about that. What is so important about this as well, Andrew, is that it gives us an opportunity to not just stay up in League A, which would mean automatic qualification for the next Gold Cup, but also an opportunity to qualify for Copa America 2024.
All right, explain that, because a lot of people have been asking me, and I want you to explain it.
Right. So once we get into the quarterfinal phase now of CONCACAF Nations League, it means that phase of the competition will comprise of 8 teams.
Right.
The top 4 from League A and this preliminary phase will join the 4 seeded teams. And from those 8 teams, the top 6 qualifies for Copa America.
Wow.
Right? So what this also means is that it is going to have an effect on our seedings, our world seedings, for World Cup qualifying in 2024 in terms of where we begin our phase, whether we get an early bye or what teams we are seeded with. So it's very critical. We're on the backs of what many consider to be a disappointing CONCACAF Gold Cup. There's no secret about that. And now the team has to catch itself again under Anglesey, who has been reinstated as head coach. He has a job at hand. He has a task ahead of him. He has accepted that responsibility. And the good thing about it is that I think the players now understand what is ahead of them. I'm not saying that they didn't know what was ahead of them for the Gold Cup, but that has gone past now, and we have to analyze where we went wrong. We are in the process of doing that right now. As a matter of fact, the team is in camp at the Home of Football in Cuba. They're going to train later today at the Manny Ramjan Stadium. Curacao comes in tomorrow, and I know they are gunning as well because they're seeing an opportunity to make amends for their failure to qualify for the Gold Cup. Because had they qualified for the Gold Cup, they would have been a possible opponent for us in the group phase. They did not make it. St. Kitts booted them out. We got the win against St. Kitts. So when you look at this scenario, it means that it's a possibility for us to be very competitive in this Nations League and try to advance forward.
In terms of the Nations League significance that you have just explained, explain though the part about the seeding. How does the seeding work in particular for the World Cup, given the absence, and let's clarify for people, the absence of USA, the absence of Canada, and the absence of Mexico from the seeding, because they automatically qualify. What does it mean?
Correct. So what CONCACAF will, based on what we're hearing so far, depending on how you perform in these matches in the Nations League and if you get to Copa America, it will affect your seedings not only within FIFA rankings but also within CONCACAF. CONCACAF now they have devised a format based on how they're going to have the draw and the seedings for World Cup qualification, whether you start at the bottom and you have additional matches to play with some of the lower ranked teams, whether you may avoid some of the earlier rounds and get into a group phase. But we are still waiting for that format to be finalized and relayed. But they have made very clear to us is that you do well in Nations League and you're going to improve your chances of getting a better seeding for World Cup qualifying. It's going to be a difficult road ahead for us. It's going to be very long. People are saying that this is probably one of our best chances ever to qualify for the World Cup. I agree with that, but it's not going to be easy. Not because Mexico, USA, and Canada are out of it. It means it's going to be easier by any means. Yes, we are in with a good footing, but these other teams are coming, and they are ready for it. You're looking at the likes of Jamaica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico. Now you have even the likes of Haiti that will be knocking on the door. Curacao as well, they're preparing. These other teams, they're also seeing it the same way we are viewing this as our best opportunity to qualify for a World Cup since 2006. So they're coming.
So let's just also clarify for people to understand here. As we look at it right now, a lot of people are saying in the past you could have automatically said Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, but Sean, you have been involved, and there's coaching now all over St. Kitts. We've got
Grenada,
Suriname, all these countries are still around there fighting up Guyana. Let's not forget Guyana. Exactly. Jamal Chabas is in Guyana. So, I mean, I think we need to explain to people that people find it hard to believe that Guyana should give Trinidad and Tobago a competition, St. Kitts should give us competition. Why? It should only be Jamaica, as far as people are concerned.
Football, we've gone past that now, Andre. In the last decade or so, these teams have stepped up. Their recruiting process has obviously gone through the roof now. They are finding players in all corners of the globe to represent their respective national teams, not just at the senior men's team, but you look at their women's program and their youth teams as well. They are finding players in different pockets. And we are attempting to do that, but it's not as easy for us because of the fact that players who have a grandparentage, they are not eligible to get that passport once they've passed 19 years. It's difficult for us to get that passport for them to represent Trinidad and Tobago. But we are finding players. That is a good thing. And these players have expressed interest in playing for Trinidad and Tobago. But we now have to obviously have good communications with the respective ministries to see if we can get passport for these players. And hopefully it's going to be done before it's too late, because qualifying for World Cup begins later in 2024. That's maybe a year away from now, or less than a year away from now. And we have to try to find the best pool and the best players available to play for Trinidad and Tobago. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to consider our home-based players, but you look at all our opponents, they are doing what is best for them. They are selecting the best players that are eligible to play for their respective national teams.
That's where my next question was going to go, because obviously the local players might say that they are at a disadvantage. How do you as part of the TTFA respond to that? Meaning that how we don't have, the local players don't have the facilities, they may not necessarily have the coaching shown, and they find themselves behind players who would not have played for Trinidad and Tobago before, or players who, to be honest, only playing for Trinidad and Tobago, it's to some extent possibly because they can't play for the team or the country where they live. There is also it's been said and it's been true in most cases for most teams around the world.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? What do you tell the young player coming up now who's playing in the Premier League football right now, a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old, who's playing there, and then the guy comes from the outside who may be 21, 22 years old, and he has better facilities, better conditions, better team. He's playing more matches, he had more experience.
What can we say to them? They have to keep fighting for the right to play for Trinidad and Tobago. I would argue against the fact that the facilities are not here. We do have some of the better facilities in the region. Sure. But in saying that the Premier League and even the Secondary Schools League is presenting that platform for these boys to be discovered. You look at the young Dante Gilbert who signed with PSV earlier this week. He came up under the Trinidad and Tobago youth system.
Yeah, tell us about him. A lot of people don't know anything about him.
Exactly. He's never played for the senior men's national team.
Okay.
He had a little bit of football in Trinidad and Tobago at the Premier League level, but would have come through the secondary school ranks. Presentation College.
Right.
And also played for our under-15 team a few years ago.
National team.
National team. So he had that opportunity, he had that window, that platform. Did not play for the under-20 men's team because he opted to go abroad for a trial when we had that tournament in the same period in Honduras a couple of years ago. But in saying that, he has created an opportunity and he's made the best of it for himself. He's had the decent backing around him, the right support system. The other players need to look at somebody like him and a Levi Garcia and see how they've been able to make something of themselves. They've taken the opportunity given to them. It's not come by just by luck. This is something that they've worked for. I mean, saying that, I agree that we do have to create more platforms and opportunities for players to be seen. It means more national team games at an international level, possibly within the regional teams and the teams in CONCACAF. And also, I think the exposure that our teams are getting at the CONCACAF Club Championship level, the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup, etc., it allows them to compete against some of the better clubs in the region, and that exposure is going to be well. I've heard that Defence Force, one of their key players, turned down an opportunity to sign a contract in Africa because he is ambitious and he's seeing the possibility of Defence Force qualifying for the CONCACAF Champions Cup and possibly drawing into Miami. Now, who's to say that that may not happen? It means that he has ambitions and he wants to stay closer to home. Turned down an opportunity to go abroad because he wants to stay closer to the national team and to his home club, Defence Force. That's Rayon Moore I'm speaking about.
Yeah.
This means that the players have an idea what is available to them. They understand what they need to do. But I think we as people involved in Trinidad and Tobago football, the stakeholders at every level, we have a responsibility as well to give these players the right platform and the right environment for them to succeed and for us to become better as a nation going forward.
Have you seen, and since COVID and some of the rules were removed, based on what you would have said in terms of the club football, Defence Force, AC Port of Spain, we had Club Sando previously, are we seeing the gap close? Are we right back where we were before, or are we still behind some of the countries that were playing football when we were not?
If you look at the recent results, some may argue that we're still a little bit way off. I thought Club Sando should have gotten past the CONCACAF Club Shield and get into the champions, the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup. That did not happen. They lost their final game. AC Port of Spain has not really gotten off so well as yet, but Defence Force, they're unbeaten. So it shows that they're the top team in the Premier League. They won the last league and they're doing pretty well in their group so far. We have to keep our fingers crossed that they continue with this momentum. But it shows that there is an opportunity and that we can compete at this level. When we get to the other phase of CONCACAF, it's going to be a different story. We will now be able to measure our teams in terms of where they are in comparison with the likes of teams from other parts of Central America, the US, Mexico. But again, this is why they are playing. They want to compete with the best. And we have to support them and hope that they get this opportunity because it's going to be better exposure for the players as well. And I want to mention this fact also. Angus Eve is going to announce his 23-man final squad maybe tomorrow. And in that final team, you are going to see quite a few local faces. It means that he has faith in some of the local players who have been progressing over the last few months, and they're going to get their opportunity as well to play international football. So just to go back to your question earlier in terms of local players feeling as though they would not have that opportunity if we go for a bunch of overseas players. I mean, once you're doing well enough and our coaching staff understands that you have proved yourself and you deserve selection, you are going to be given that opportunity. And also the likes of a Kyle Ovre, he has had the opportunity to play for both Guadeloupe and St. Martin. He chose to play for Trinidad and Tobago. So it's not always a question of whether they believe that, okay, I can't make the team that the country I was born in, and my only option is Trinidad and Tobago. Sometimes they see better possibilities playing for Trinidad and Tobago as well. And that's something good for us, because it means that we are still an attractive option. Yes, we may not be getting results, but I think the Trinidad and Tobago brand is still out there. It's just for us, the stakeholders, to maintain that and to keep pushing on.
Are we going to go take a short break? When we come back from this break, I want to center and deal a little bit with what you mentioned. I know there was a 40-man provisional squad that was named. We're going to put it up on the screen after the break, talk a little bit about it, and look ahead to the game on Thursday. Take a short break. We've got an ad running for that game on Thursday. We take a short break. We'll be back. This is the Face of Sports here on WESN. Welcome back, welcome back. We're talking football on Thursday. That's Thursday coming. Remember the date, people. Thursday coming. Trinidad and Tobago's football team will be in action. That's Thursday the 7th? Thursday the 7th of September at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. Kickoff time is 6 p.m. It's a crucial game for Trinidad and Tobago. As you heard from Sean Fuentes, we need to make a good start. We only have 4 matches, 2 home, 2 away. And we need to finish in the first two. The first two in this group.
Yeah.
So that is telling you why we need to make sure we win at least 2, if not 3 of these matches here. If we win all 4, even better, obviously, as the case may be, and have a chance to go into the qualifiers for the Copa America, right? And 6 out of 8 teams, and then even get a better seeding draw. So let's have a look at the 40-man provisional squad. As Sean mentioned, tomorrow afternoon we get the full squad. There's a lot of experience there on that squad. Some players have since moved on, obviously, but at the time, this is on paper, it's a mixed squad. Sean Fuentes, 40 players having to be reduced to 23. I know we have some injuries. Levi Garcia is out because of injury.
Judah is also out as well with injury. There are some question marks over the fitness of also Nicholas Frenderup because of a finger injury he obtained. And sadly, Real Gill is also out. He has a torn hamstring, which the medical staff is working on at this point in time. So we're still waiting to see if he's going to be available for either of these 2 matches. We're going to confirm everything by tomorrow. Angus will announce the final 23. But you look at this 40-man provisional squad and you see, there is talent there. There are capable players I believe are capable of getting results for the national team. Ajani 14 has also ruled himself out with an injury also. So it's not an easy road for us. It's very challenging for the coaching staff now to get the best 23 out of this. And of course, we have to rely on the experienced players as well as those younger players that Angus is going to give the opportunity to get into the system and to wet their feet a bit on the international stage. We have to maximize these opportunities in the Nations League. Most of the international windows now are taken up by Nations League matches, and he has to use these games now to see who are the better players and who's fitting into his system in preparation for the big one, which is World Cup qualifying, which starts later in 2024.
I want to have a look at the list again, because there's one name that stands out for me, at least, on the list. Christopher Biggett. He's never played for Trinidad and Tobago. He's a new player.
He's the goalkeeper for Defence Force.
Yeah.
I thought he did really well so far for Defence Force in the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup. And Angus has decided to give him the opportunity. And he's one of the goalkeepers there, obviously, with the likes of Marvin Phillip, Denzel Smith, and obviously Frenderup also.
When you look at the composition of that team, it's a mixture of some young players, some not so young players in terms of age, but a lot of experience. Do you feel, and I want this to be made to know to people, I looked at the Jamaican team, and apart from the absence of Mikel Antonio, Jamaica are playing a full-strength team in their game. They are going with all their guns. They understand how important this is. I'm not too sure why Antonio is not there, but he's the only one. He's the only name I see missing in terms of the Jamaican squad for whatever reason it is. But it's a very strong Jamaican team. That's how important they see this.
Yeah, and you look at the other rosters as well. I think even in some of the games coming up for the US, they have some international friendlies as well. They are going with some of their better players.
They're bringing back the best players now.
Exactly. You realize now that none of these countries in the top tier of CONCACAF football are taking any of the windows for granted. It's an opportunity for them to regroup because they understand, unlike club football where you have your players week in, week out, an international coach has the luxury of, 4 days or maybe 3 days. Angus is going to get his full squad for probably 2 sessions, tomorrow and Wednesday before we play on Thursday. So they have to maximize every window of opportunity to get their best players together for international football. Whatever we can do now in the pockets outside of the international windows to organize international friendlies, similar to what we did with the 2 games away to Jamaica earlier this year, we have to try and see how that can be arranged. Of course, it takes more resources, it takes better planning, and you have to also find teams that are willing to accommodate you in some way or the other to play international friendlies. We are in the process of working on that for the remainder of this year and also next year, because as you mentioned earlier, these players need the opportunity, they need exposure, and we are now in the process of discussing with some of our other fellow member associations to see whether they can come to Trinidad and play games or whether we can fly out there and play.
Going to El Salvador, tell people how difficult that is, because I've been to El Salvador, Honduras. I'm trying to think between El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, which one, I don't know. Actually, to be honest, between El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and Panama, Panama is the least of the least difficult,
hostile,
least hostile of all of them.
You're right.
And Costa Rica is not so bad as well, but certainly El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala stand out in my memory.
And you're right about that. All of these countries that you've called, they are all hostile environments. But I would want to think that the likes of El Salvador and Honduras, they are ugly environments to play in.
Honduras.
They don't make it easy for you at any point in time. I have to talk about our away game to El Salvador back in 2009 when they scored the 2 goals in the final 5 minutes in that 2-2 draw.
I'll never forget that game. I was there.
And I know why you never forget that game. Right?
Terrible.
We always talk about that when obviously our good friend Stone missed the penalty.
Yeah.
But they drew that game. They pulled back 2 goals in the closing stages. And it was so horrendous, the treatment that we received as a visiting team.
They shake the bus and all kind of thing.
The bus and the away locker room in El Salvador is positioned in a part of the stadium where the fans are just above you.
Okay.
And there is a space between the wall and that ground level floor that fans have access to. So they can actually peek into the locker room, or when they're throwing all their slurs, you hear it very easily because it's just as though it's beyond this wall.
Right.
And it was crazy for that particular game. I expect something similar for this match.
You know what I remember about that game? We had to commentate. At the time I was sitting along with actually Louis. Louis sat along with me, and we were commenting. They didn't give us space to commentate in a booth, so we had to commentate in the crowd. I remember that game.
Yes.
And of course, I do commentate loud. Right? And even though they speak in Spanish, and we were 2-0 up.
We were dominating the game.
And I was dominating the game. When they came back, they threw beer and all kind of thing on us. I couldn't do nothing. It was just me, him, and Wayne. And they threw beer all over us. And I stood down here and I said, Lord help us, yes? If they were so in this game.
The away game to Guatemala as well in the 2018 semi-final phase when we won that game 2-1. Goals by Kenwin and Kaleem Highland.
Yeah.
On the way out, we had to be ducking and trying to avoid bags of urine being thrown at the players and the staff before we got to the locker room. So these are very interesting environments. Of course, we love the challenge. I look forward to these sort of games. I think Angus and his staff and even some of the players, it's going to be great for these younger players to get that exposure and that opportunity to experience this. But it all comes down to what their frame of mind to get it done on the field of play. The mind games for these matches, they begin once you arrive at the international airport in these countries, it starts from there. They don't wait for you to settle and say, okay, on game day, then we're going to go at the opposition. It starts from the minute you check in at the hotel. You have to be on your P's and Q's looking out for everything in terms of delivery of food.
So that game is Sunday?
Yes, that's on the 10th. So we have literally one day to one training session in El Salvador, and then we play the next day.
That game is what time on Sunday?
10 p.m. on Sunday.
Trinidad time, 10 p.m.?
Yes.
10 p.m. Trinidad. So they're getting all the times, people. 10 p.m. Trinidad time on Sunday. But the game, the first game is which is most important because we need a good start. We're at home. When you're playing at home, Sean Frented, people expect you to win.
Yeah.
So we're playing at home. The game is at
6 p.m.
Why is there any reason for the
this has to do, CONCACAF host broadcast, they determine all the kickoff times for matches now. So it depends on their time for their prime time for viewing, for airing of the games.
Okay.
6 p.m. carded for this particular game. I think it's not a bad time.
No, it's not a bad time. I think it's a good time because people come straight from work basically.
And it allows the younger kids to come out as well.
Yes,
so we have kids 12 and under will be admitted free into the venue. Tickets are on sale for this game as we speak. We can get it online at www.suntix.com, suntix.com. It's $100 for the covered section, $50 for uncovered. Tickets are also on sale physically at Fan Zone outlets and Fan Club in Trinity Mall. And on match day, you can get your tickets at the Hazy Crawford Stadium from about 12 midday.
In terms of crowd, what they're expecting? I mean, Trinidad's are last minute, and they'll watch cricket on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday there's no cricket, Friday there's no cricket, so they have 2 days to come out and support football. So we have to factor
in that there are going to be a busy CPL schedule here in Trinidad over that period, but I think the football-loving public will want to come out and see what this group of players have to offer. They want to see what Angus is coming with. In spite of everything, I think people want to see what is going to happen. Those who want to support the team, there are going to be the detractors. We can't get away from that.
Can't get from that.
Right? But I'm hoping that people come out to support this team and to help us start on the right footing. In saying that, we are also making some efforts to try to partner with some groups to try to encourage fans to get there. So you can get into the all-inclusive party section, which is being hosted by Unveil. They have a section where you can buy your tickets, buy your additional ticket with them. You can get all the details on their Instagram pages, on their social media.
Unveil
UNVIL.
Okay.
So you can pay your ticket, purchase a ticket, and get access to entertainment, drinks, food, etc. And also the TTFA has partnered with 63 Lounge on the Avenue, where there's going to be a pre-match and post-game pump as well. So with your ticket stub, you can have access to drink specials both before the game and after the match.
Your good friend at 63.
Yes, our good friend Kyle Kwai.
Yes, I know him very well.
Right, so he's trying to obviously be part of this whole push forward.
That's a good idea.
You're going to get more details about the packages available on the 63 Lounge's social media pages, as well as the TTFAs over the next coming days.
All right, Sean's going to be here with us for a while. That's a short while after, until about 10-15 minutes after the news. We'll talk more about the packages, give you a better idea of where you can go, where you can be. But the most important thing is we want you there on Thursday, 6 p.m. kickoff. We take a short break for the news. We'll be back. Welcome back. This is WESN Content Capital, Face of Sport. It's on, people. What's on, you might be saying? Well, it's football. Trinidad and Tobago's Soca Warriors in action on Thursday from 6 p.m. against Curacao in a crucial Nations League match. The first in this Group A. Remember, 4 teams involved. The top 2 move on. The top 2?
Top 2, correct.
Top 2 move on, and we're not sorry, no more than 4 teams involved, but we have 4 matches, I should say. We are playing 4 matches, and 2 against Curacao, 1 against El Salvador,
and 1 against Guatemala.
And 1 against Guatemala. The two Central Americans, not easy teams to play. The Guatemala is here
in Trinidad
and Tobago, and we play Curacao home and away, and we travel to El Salvador. We first start off on the 7th, right here at the Hazy Crawford Stadium. Kickoff is 6 p.m. So you can come straight from work, bring your family, bring your friends, $100 covered, $50 uncovered.
That's right.
And children under?
Children under 12 and under are free.
Children under 12 and under are free. So Burke, who has a lot of children, they're free if you want to come, basically. But I mean, I know he's godfather of a lot of children, I should say. That's what I meant when I'm talking about Ryan Gomez Burke, the godfather of many children. All right. So now, what do you tell the people of Trinidad and Tobago? Because they're watching English Premier League football, Sean Fuentes. They're watching La Liga. They're watching French football, Italian football, and they just finished watching the Premier, and they sometimes try to compare these and say, hey, Trinidad and Tobago football, not like that. But then we just watched the World Cup, a Women's World Cup with Jamaica. Yeah. The Jamaica team knocked out Brazil, went all the way to the last 16, and yet still they didn't play any great, in my opinion, brand of exciting football, but they were able to do it. How do you tell people that?
Well, this is always an interesting point for us. As you mentioned, people like to compare based on what they're seeing on their television screens, on their mobile phones now, and now with what you're seeing in the MLS, with the influx of players at Inter Miami, etc. People want to see that same brand and that same level of football when they come to the Hazy Crawford Stadium. What I can say is that international football is not what you're accustomed to in terms of club level. We get the players for a certain amount of time. We try to bring the best products, the best group together to compete in international football. For instance, this game against Curacao, I don't think it's going to be pretty by any means, because both teams are going to come there fighting to get that 3 points. But of course, we owe it to the public as well to put out a good product. I think Angus and his staff, they understand what is required to get the players in a cohesive unit. And hopefully we can get that in time in terms of being ready to put that on the pitch come Thursday, and also away to El Salvador also. You mentioned something earlier about Jamaica and what they've been able to achieve in spite of not playing the most attractive football. And I can tell you that they believe in themselves, they believe in how their style of play, and they stick to that. They give you everything, it's all heart and soul. And this is what we need to try to adopt in our football in terms of what our players want to accomplish. And that drive and desire really to go out there and do whatever it takes for country and for yourself and for your family. They say with hard work and determination, everything else will take care of itself. We know over the years that we continue to produce skillful, talented players, but people have argued that something is missing, that final element that is preventing us from really succeeding at that level, from producing players who can really make it at that top tier level in Europe and other parts of Central America or other top leagues in the world. Something has gone past. We are missing something for the past decade, and this is a work in progress. And I think now there's a very critical element happening in Trinidad and Tobago football now, which people are not paying attention to, which is the coach education program. We now have some of the best coach educators in FIFA, which is led by Anton Cornely, technical director. Now, people have to understand that Anton is now one of the coach educators for coaching courses in different parts of the world, South America, Africa, Europe. He's well respected. And he now he's not leaving it up to him alone. He's bringing some of the best coach educators from other parts of the world. We had the head of coach education for Brazil. He was recently in Trinidad and Tobago to conduct part of the A-license coaching course. And this process is we now as an FA educating local coaches to pass on that knowledge and training to our home-based players. You look at some of the other countries who have been doing well in recent times in world football, and when you look at their journey, it's well documented that a lot of emphasis has been placed on development of not just the players, but the coaches within their territory. And that is the direction that we are heading in right now. Obviously, Andre, it's no secret, people want to see results. So we can have all the coaching courses in the world.
So that's you hit right on my question. My question was, despite all of that, Sean Fuentes, we know the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So, for instance, I was drawing the reference to Jamaica, and I was saying that Jamaican football is not exciting, but they're still doing good, and the Jamaicans worship them. If Trinidad and Tobago play that style of football, people go start to say, that is not our football. Nobody in dribble, nobody in pass. They're worrying about results.
Correct.
Focus on the end product, which is the result. Not if you could beat 3 men on the side, do a drag, a sombrero. We like that. That is what we are. And so a lot of our players appreciate that style of football, but the hard grind, concentrating for the 90 minutes, that's been a problem for Trinidad and Tobago for a long time. But anyway, I'm coming back to the point, the last point you made. At the end of the day, how do you deal, because you are the media man for the football, how do you deal with the fact that when you go to the cinema, Sean Fuentes, when you go to the mall, people go say, hey, Trinidad and Tobago lose. I don't want to hear nothing about the other young side, Me and Kev, they're playing on young side. They're supposed to win, no matter who Trinidad and Tobago play. If they play Brazil tomorrow, we're supposed to win. How do you deal with that?
I've been dealing with this for years upon years. It's happening on a daily basis. We get all the influx of emails and messages on the social media platforms. The man on the street, once they recognize that you are involved with Trinidad and Tobago football, the dialogue begins. And as you rightly say, people are still arguing why it is they should put out $100 or $50 to come and see our national team play on Thursday, because they want to feel comfortable that we're going to win the match even before the match is played, right? Of course, they are the diehards who will make the effort and the sacrifice because they stick behind their teams. And this is the difference also with some of the other countries in Europe, South America, Central America. They believe in their team and they will stick with the team no matter what. I'm not asking Trinidad and Tobago to show up regardless of how they feel. We understand that they want value for money, and we will give our best. We'll put out our best effort to try to give them that. But it's a marathon. It's not just 90 minutes. It's a whole process to prepare your team. Everything has to be on point, all the resources, the dynamics around the Football Association, around the team, but also in terms of as a country, how we do things, how we think, what do we really want to achieve? Are we looking at the long haul, or are we prepared just to see a group of players go and play fancy football and we think, okay, we get value for money? It's not just about that now. All other teams now are their preparations is so meticulous in terms of what they do, and they're looking at the distance, the long distance, the long haul, and this is why you see the likes of Jamaica. They are reaping the benefits for things that have been going on in their football for years gone by. And in saying that, if you follow what is happening in the media as well, Andre, it's not all smooth sailing for Jamaica football. No. You see the issues that are still happening between their players and their administrators, and their players are demanding the best resources, and the country at large is demanding the best also out of the administrators.
I'm glad you said that, because that's relevant, and particularly, no, but not only to the women. The women were complaining before about the bad treatment, this, that. But as I said even in a Jamaican radio, that when they put on the Jamaican uniform and they run out on the field, they forget all about that. Yes. In Trinidad and Tobago, and I say that our women know. They complain, they decide not to play for Trinidad and Tobago because we think not good, we're not playing. The Jamaican women still going and play and complaining now. But when they go out there, they playing their heart out. Our team not like that. We complain and the girls go say, hey, I do like that coach. There's something wrong. I'm not playing.
And you're right, but at the same time, I think we need to look at things from both sides of the fence.
Of course.
From a FA standpoint, from a stakeholder standpoint, and also for the players. Sometimes we are held accountable for our actions and what we do, and we need to obviously look back at where we've gone wrong and try to improve. It's no secret that the FA right now is still in a financial,
yes, of course.
Difficulties that we are experiencing, but we are making some progress. I think the normalization committee remains committed to the task in terms of where they want to leave the FA, where they want to see the FA progress. But as you say, it all depends on results. And even the recent matches that we would have mentioned earlier with our youth teams, the results were not great. Our under-14 girls lost to Aruba. I don't think this has ever happened in the history of Trinidad and Tobago football. Yes, they would have gotten some decent results against the likes of Jamaica. Our U17 girls as well have shown progress coming out of the high performance program. But when we sit down with potential partners as well, they are not seeing that. No. They want to jump on board to support a winning product. And that sadly is the state of where we are right now, and we continue to try to beat that drum to get things right.
All right, as we get ready to go, let's remind people, Sean. So on Thursday, Trinidad and Tobago play a crucial game. Sean, that's going to go over it again because I want to emphasize it in the brains of the people of Trinidad and Tobago that on Thursday we play from 6 p.m. at the Hazley Crawford Stadium against Curacao in a very important game. It's a home game. We only play 4 matches this time around, 2 against Curacao, home and away. We go away to El Salvador on the 10th, and then Guatemala come here in October. In October. So that's how crucial. It's only 4 matches we have to try to come in the top 2 in this group. So understand how hard it is just to come in the top 2. If it's only 4 matches you have in terms of qualifying. Sean, you can explain more.
You're right about that, Andre, and I want to stress the fact that this particular game, we are still hoping to get that fan base to come and support the boys. It's critical that we try to get 3 points in this match. As you mentioned, it's essential at this stage. Gates open at around 4 p.m. for that 6 p.m. kickoff. Tickets will be available at the venue from 12 midday
at Hazley Crawford
Stadium. And right now, you can get your tickets online at suntix.com as well as at Fan Club and Fan Zone outlets. $100 for
Fan Zone about that in Movie Tongue as well.
Correct.
So Movie Tongue, you all like to go movies, get yourself down to the Fan Zone, Movie Tongue. Everybody is going, want to say they go, and they have a new movie now, Equalizer, all they want to see it, so go down there.
Right, and saying that also, so we have the tickets available online as I mentioned. It's $100 for a covered section, $50 for the uncovered. Kids 12 and under are free. We have unveil party section as well with that particular group where you can spend a few extra dollars and get access to drinks and entertainment. We have organized in collaboration with 63 Lounge to have a pre-game. And
how is that going to work? Yeah, so that's before the game?
That's before the game. So once you have your ticket stub in place, you can make your way down to 63 Lounge. You will get a lot of specials on drinks and just soak up the atmosphere before you walk over to the Hazley Crawford Stadium. And it continues after the game as well. So the game finishes around 7:45. From 8 p.m. onwards, you can continue your Thursday evening line at 63 Lounge. We are also partnering with Frankie's on the Avenue as well, who will have a similar arrangement. All these details will be available on our social media platforms this week, so you can tune in and get access to what is happening. And of course, all information around our squad. We're going to announce that final 23-man squad tomorrow, going forward to try to get up into Copa America for 2024.
And finally, Sean Fuentes, when you look towards the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we know that there is cricket in the air, cricket on Tuesday and Wednesday, but there's no cricket. And let me just say this. the ticket for the football is cheaper than the ticket for the cricket. And it's less time. And it is your country playing. Although the Trinidad and Tobago Night Riders, it's part of you, no disagreement. But this is Trinidad and Tobago, and this is about World Cup qualification eventually. That's how important these series of matches starting on Thursday are. For those of you who care about football, because everybody likes football and they want a team to be in the World Cup, they support Argentina, France, Germany, Brazil, right? And so all, but there could be a chance for Trinidad and Tobago to be there. We need a good draw. Sean, give some final words.
Yeah, I'll throw out a challenge to my good friend Colin Ward as well. I know he's a fan of football.
Yes,
he
Colin
likes to message me for his tickets when we have international games. So Colin, bring your boys down to the AC Crawford.
Yeah,
let them offer them their support. I know Polly is a big supporter of football as well. Come down to the AC Crawford Stadium and give us that support. We will be backing you as well in your respective games this upcoming week in CPL. And it's about Trinidad and Tobago sport at the end of the day, Andre. And we are putting our heads together. It's challenging times. The climate is not the best. We agree with that. But at the same time, we cannot hang our heads. We have to go out there and try to get the best result
Nobody's
possible.
interested in if there's problems in Trinidad and Tobago football.
Correct.
FIFA not interested, CONCACAF not interested. And certainly the teams we playing couldn't care one bit. And I've been kind here. They couldn't care. They're glad if Trinidad and Tobago is in disarray ahead of their match on Tuesday. Understand that, people?
And in saying that, this is why we have to come together as a people, as a nation, because it's us against them.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. We're going to take a short break. Much thanks to Sean Fuentes. Don't forget, it's on. You're going to hear the ad when we come back from this break. You're going to hear the ad. It's all about football this Thursday. This Thursday, Trinidad and Tobago against Curacao. It takes place at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. Gates open at 4 o'clock. The game starts at 6. Tickets on sale at Fan Zone and Fan Club and also online.
Suntix.com.
And on the day of the match from 12 o'clock, that's noon on Tuesday. We take a short break. We'll be back.